All right. Hey, welcome all of you awesome people, wherever you are. We are currently in Sweden, of all places. This is me broadcasting to you. And just so you get an idea of what it looks like in Sweden at the moment and where we are, because that is where all stories begin, isn't it? So let's have a look at the house from the outside. Okay, so that is Sweden, that is the JP Manor, and I welcome you so much to this talk, which has the name of the magical science of storytelling. But this one is going to be more about business storytelling, because I understand that a lot of you are speakers. Marcus, who's my technician, will show you what it looks like in here so that you get an idea of what it is to be a speaker in the digital world. So Marcus, hit me with camera 3. All right, this is my studio here. So I have 3 monitors, and look at this. I've got all of your names here. So if you want to put on your cameras and I can see you, that's going to make a difference to me because I'm going to get energy from you. And over here we have my screen, which I'll be using as well. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Esmia, Anne, Umo, Tikon, Div, Henry, Grace, Antonia. Whoa, have a look at this. Can you see that? It's lighting up all over the place. This is so beautiful. All right. How many of you are public speakers today? Can I just see a raise of hands wherever you are? All right. So you're presenters and public speakers. That's beautiful. All right, I want to welcome you to the most powerful subject of your entire life. The most powerful subject of your entire life. Because the stories you believe in become who you are. So if you believe in stories of possibility, of opportunity, that will more likely be what your future is. But if you believe in stories which hold you back, which tells you that, hey, life's not going to work out, your opportunities will also be less. I want to begin with a study in 2009. A man by the name Rob Walker, he was puzzled by why would somebody pay $1.5 million for the red jacket, the leather jacket that Michael Jackson wore in the music video Thriller. Do you remember this one? He wore a red leather jacket. So somebody paid $1.5 million for that. It's an insane amount of money. Whilst an identical jacket at a thrift shop is maybe worth $50. How can that be $50 and this be worth $1.5 million? It doesn't make sense. Well, the thing is this, Michael Jackson is just a story to you. It's the story of his songs, the stories of interviews, the stories of the lyrics in his songs, the stories of his music videos. Michael Jackson isn't real to you. He's a story to you. And the better that story is, the more it increases the value of anything. So in this case, the story of Michael Jackson was so powerful that it increased the value of the jacket to $1.5 million. And that's the thing in life. If you're a business owner, if you're a presenter, you're in Toastmasters, you do presentations, it's always about the perceived value of the story. I want you to remember that, the perceived value of the story. The perceived value of Michael Jackson's story made his jacket worth so much more. So I'm saying this is because I want you to be aware of that the stories you share with others is what you're not real to anyone. You're not even real to yourself. Because we are all made up out of stories. And therefore it's important for you in a profession to share the stories you want people to see you be. What stories do you want them to be associated to you as a person? So exactly how powerful is this? Well, the Rob Walker decided he wanted to test this. So he walked over to eBay. He purchased 200 random objects And he wanted to do something called the significant object study, which meant that this was one of the objects, this beautiful horse's head, plastered, maybe made from a 9-year-old. He wanted to ask himself, can I just add a story to that and increase its value? So he bought this horse for 99 cents. He called up an author and he said, could you write me a story, please, to this horse's head? And the author said, yeah, let's do it. I'd love to. So this horse's head got a story about how it's been stuck in the Louvre. It's been dropped down the Eiffel Tower in Paris and so on. And then he asked another bunch of authors, and at the end of the day, he had 200 objects, 200 stories. And he published them on eBay again. This horse's head was purchased for 99 cents, and with a story, it was sold for $62.95. If you're quick in maths, you understand that that is a slight value increase of 6,258%. 6,000%. Based on one thing and one thing only, and that is a story that increased the perceived value of the object. So how can you increase the perception of you as a speaker or in your profession? Well, one thing is price, for instance. If you're a public speaker and you charge $100, the perceived value of you will probably be something like, that's quite cheap, at least internationally. Probably not worth that much then. The value's probably pretty low. Nobody else wants to book this person. Okay. Or the same person charges $1,000. The perceived value will now be, whoa, this person seems to be booked a lot, worth a lot, probably brings more value. That is one way, price. Second one is everything from business cards to websites. If your business card and website and your Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube account, if they look world class, that's the story you send out. Same thing for testimonials. If you've had clients who've said awesome things about you, those are the best stories in the world. Share more of those. And an interesting thing I've noticed is if you go into my webpage, you may find maybe 1 or 2 or 3 testimonials, but I also add to one particular page, I have 500 testimonials. Because you see, when you just share 1 and 2 and 3, it seems like you've handpicked them. But when you got 500 and you leave some of the not so good, but 99% of them are absolutely awesome, that increases the authenticity and credibility of what you're saying. You see the stories here, in this case, testimonials, social media, web page, business cards, price, all of that adds up to the story of you. In his case, we can ask ourselves, what happened to the other objects? Well, in total, they were bought. The 200 objects were bought for $129 and sold for $8,000. Study's been replicated 5 times with equal results. So let's have a look at what are the biggest mistakes people do in storytelling. I'd like to give this one to you. Number 1 is that listen carefully to this, every single decision you make in life is driven by emotion, my friend. Everyone. There's no other decision in life that is driven by logic. So, if your decisions are driven by emotion, how do you get other people to buy you, to get interest in your products, in your service? How do you make that happen? There's only one single way. You create an emotion in them. That's the only way. Only way. And there are only 2 emotions that drive us, either away from pain or toward pleasure. Only ones. So if you're looking at a client, if you're looking at your audience, you have 2 options to get them to take action. Either produce fear in them, pain, or produce the opportunity of pleasure in them. Because a lot of people, they do this. On their web pages, they have stats and specifications and a bunch of words. In this case, if you look at this, would you buy this car? I don't think so. And Tesla knows that. So instead of just writing down the specs, they show beautiful images of their cars. And maybe somebody would buy this. But what's more interesting is that Tesla, an electrical car company coming out of the US, they know that this doesn't sell as well as a story. So what stories do they create? Well, they've specifically seen to it that they have a one car model which is blasting fast. It's like 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2 seconds. It's called a Tesla Plaid. And people are blown away by it. So they record their friends' reactions, puts it up on YouTube. And this becomes the entire marketing organism for Tesla. They do not put any money into marketing. The stories that their products create and people share with each other is what drives their sales. So this is a video of that. These people in a car experiencing Tesla Plaid for the first time.
I hate it. Really? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
Love that third guy. Mobile phone all over the place. So this is the first thing I want you to take with you. Emotion drives every single decision. So if you want to move somebody from A to B, you have to produce either pain or pleasure. That's it. In Tesla's case, they produce the possibility of pleasure if you have such a car, for instance. And the second thing I want to bring up with storytelling is this. The second reason it's so powerful from a brain perspective is that everything in your life is simulated by this part. It's called the prefrontal cortex. It is what makes us different from animals because we can foresee the future and we can replay the past. I'll say that again. You can foresee the future and replay the past, and you do this every single day. When I ask people, how many stories have you told today? They say, maybe 15. And I say, that's bullshit. You've told 1,000 stories. And 950 of them was in your own head, about you, about what's happening. When you're out driving a car, you're constantly telling small stories like, what would happen if that car came towards me in this direction? What would happen if I take a right here or left there? Is that faster than the other route? You're constantly simulating the future to understand reality. And this is how we human beings work. That is why storytelling is 20 times more powerful when it comes to remembering something. So if you're a teacher, if you want to teach anybody anything, storytelling is key. But you know what most people do? They convert the stories in their head about their products to objects, bullet lists, data, charts, jargon, and words. So they actually do this, which is batshit stupid. Instead of just taking their prefrontal cortex and sending their story to the other person's prefrontal cortex, which is what we've done for millions of years. They do this. They convert their story into PowerPoint slides with objects, bullet lists, data, chart, jargon, and words. They then hope that the person receiving it will translate that into a story which either brings pain or pleasure. But this is like taking a massive detour in communication. It's like you saying to your partner, hey, I'm going to work. I will take that 2-hour detour to work. And your partner goes, but why? That's stupid. And you go, I know, but I'm still going to do it. This is stupid. For the love of God, please use slides, but make them into stories instead. Make them into examples, metaphors, similes, visualizations. All of that brings more value to the person. Now, I've been talking a lot about emotion, and I want to show you one important key point. I'll actually say this. What I'm about to give you is the most important skill in public speaking, presentation, Toastmaster careers, whatever. And it's down to this sucker. This is a neurotransmitter in your brain, which is called dopamine. And dopamine is the reason you're listening to me. It's whenever you feel that you want something, that you desire something, that you're interested in something, that you're engaged in something. Every single time you're like, ooh, it's soon Friday. I'm looking forward to Friday. It's going to be so awesome with Friday. That's dopamine for you, man. Every time you're looking forward to something, it's dopamine. When you don't want to get out of bed because the entire day feels boring, that is low levels of dopamine. These are the effects of dopamine. It increases focus, motivation, creativity, and memory. So I've been doing public speaking training for 23 years. When people come to me and they say, what is the single most important thing to grab and hold the attention of an audience? I say dopamine. Key, nothing else. Learn to master that, and you learn to master an audience. So I'll give you an example of someone who didn't master their audience. I had a client who called me up, or he wasn't actually my client, but he said, hey, David, would you like to coach me? And I said, oh, I don't know, I handpicked my clients, but I can have a look at you though. So I came into the room. There was 100 people in the room listening to him. He was on stage. He sucked so badly. He was doing how to avoid death by PowerPoint behind him. It was truly vomiting. 98 were sleeping. 2 in the middle, they were doing this. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God. Yes. Nice. Yes, yes. Like, what were they doing? Why were they so interested? What they had heard was that the speaker on stage was using filler sounds. And they were counting them. They were like 17, 18, 19. Oh my God, this is amazing. We got 20 filler sounds in 10 minutes. It's a record. Because that brought more attention and more dopamine than was coming out of the mouth of the person speaking. So I'll put it bluntly and say this. If you're losing your audience, if people are not focusing on what you're saying, the only thing you have to do is add more dopamine. And I'm going to give you an example of how to do that now. I'm going to tell you a 20-second story. The first version is without dopamine. The second version is with dopamine. Now listen attentively to hear the difference, right? So that you can pick up what I'm doing. This is so important. Version number 1 goes like this. The man woke up in the morning, looked to his right, he put on his slippers, he walked to the door was open, he came out into the hallway, he saw wet tracks, he ran down the hallway, he came to the balcony, he looked over the railing. The end. You couldn't care less. It's not an interesting story. It's a story, but it's boring because it's got no dopamine in it. So let me tell you it again, this time with dopamine. Listen to the difference and what I do. The man woke up in the morning. What was that smell? He looked to his right. It was all quiet. He saw what he feared. The bed was empty. It can't be, he thought to himself. No, it can't be. He put on his slippers. He ran to the door. The door was open. He knew he'd locked it. He came into the hall where he saw the wet tracks on the floor. He screamed inside himself. He ran down the corridor. He said to himself, no, it can't be, no! He came to the balcony. He looked over to the railing, into the pool. He froze. He screamed silently. He was choked because in the pool he saw his worst nightmare come alive. He saw, and the end. Now you see, now you want to hear the end, but before you didn't. And the reason for that is because dopamine was created. So the question then, my friend, is how did I do it? Well, I did it through voice modulation. So never forget that. That's so important in presentation skills. But this is the key. Listen to this. This is the holy grail of public speaking, my friend. This unanswered questions. That is what your entire presentation needs to be until the end. I've placed unanswered questions in your head, which goes, what was the smell? Why was it silent? Who was in the bed? Why was it empty? Why did he scream? Why did he run? Why was the wet tracks? What did they have to do with this? Why did he freeze? What did he see in the pool? I placed 10 unanswered questions in your head in 40 seconds. Every single one building dopamine, building dopamine, building dopamine. And now you want to hear the answer. So when you build a TED Talk, like my TED Talks, which have today accumulated almost 10 million views, you have to ask yourself from the start until the end, how can I add unanswered question? And there has to be one every 30 seconds almost, which you answer as you go by. This is one of many ways to create dopamine, but this one's about storytelling. And this is the primary way of doing it in stories. So that means that I'm going to move on to the end now. I believe it's 18:12. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. So I want to add one more thing to you, and that is oxytocin. Oxytocin is another chemical which is absolutely super important for storytelling. I don't really have the time to go into it in any depth, but I'll show you what it does. It increases empathy, trust, and connection. And let's put it like this. If you're a speaker, if you're a leader, if you're a partner, if you're a parent, if you're a friend, and you don't have this with that person, you might as well go home. Lock the door and go home. It doesn't matter how much dopamine you have if they don't feel that they can trust you and they do not feel that they have a connection with you. So how do you create this in stories? Well, this is what you do. You add setbacks to them. So many speakers, they present stories without setbacks, which usually go, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, and then I succeeded. That's bullshit. Life doesn't work like that. Every story almost has a setback. Every person lives a story and it has setbacks. So when you leave testimonials and they don't have setbacks, they're not real stories. They don't actually create connection. So whenever you tell a story, whenever you deliver any presentation or present yourself, please share personal details, setbacks, weaknesses. That is what makes people feel oxytocin for you. You can try it. Just try it at a dinner. Like you're sitting by a person, you're talking about weather and wind. Nobody cares. Suddenly, you share something personal, they will as well. You share something more personal, they will as well. Within 5 minutes, you will have connected faster and deeper with that person than hours of small talk. So whenever I want to connect with a person, I always ask them questions which will lead them to share personal details, because by so I produce oxytocin in the other person. I then get the opportunity to share my stories, which also creates oxytocin in me and that person. This is interesting that through delivery, by me using a particular kind of voice, I can make you feel more than if I don't. This particular kind of voice is changing melody, which we don't have time to go through, but just for your information. And the last thing I want to give you is this. This is so interesting. We human beings are so weird. If you add traits to a character in a story, we love the story. We love the character more. So for instance, if you watch a movie about a person who's the fastest person on earth, whatever happens to that person, you feel a greater sadness than a person who is averagely fast at running. So anybody that has got traits, we care for them more. And that is why all movies, every character has to have traits which are special. They're stronger, they're faster, they're good at playing the piano, they've gone through hell, whatever. It has to be something in their personality. So I want to show you an example of that. Last November, I got the opportunity to buy the biggest domain in the world on storytelling. So I bought storytelling.com. And when you look at this, it doesn't mean a lot to you. But let me add a story to it and you'll see the difference. When I built this, I love storytelling. So I wanted it to be a tribute to all the great storytellers in the world. So for instance, the G is a copy of William Shakespeare's handwriting. The I is the copy of the handwriting from the person who built Lord of the Rings, Tolkien. The T is from Gutenberg, the first press in the world. The R are from the Vikings who traveled the world. And the S is from the Roman alphabet. Every single letter in this is a tribute to other older storytellers. And this hand is actually a symbol of the oldest story ever told. Because there's a cave in Spain which holds the first cave paintings. And it's just filled with handprints, where you can see the kids at the bottom, the adults at the top. You can see how somebody slipped. So this symbol symbolizes not only fire and campfire and the moon, but also the first story ever told in a cave. So now when I've told you the story of the logo, it means more to you because it has traits. And the same thing goes for you when you describe yourself. Now, saying this, I want you to remember the following. We started telling stories 2.5 million years ago. 27,000 years ago, we started drawing these stories. 3,500 years ago, we started writing down our stories. 28 years ago, PowerPoint was born, my friend. 28 years, PowerPoint was born. And still so many people insist on using that primarily to deliver their presentations. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate PowerPoint. You can watch my TED Talk, How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. It's 18 minutes of brilliant advice. The thing with PowerPoint is to use it correctly in combination with stories. So saying that till the end, I've had a blast speaking to you. If you want to learn more, you can go into storytelling.com. You have a free training there for 45 minutes, which adds even more value than this talk. So go into storytelling.com and just sign up for that. I'm here to share. Go into my YouTube channel. I have so much free information there. Go to Instagram. I share stuff all the time. I've been doing this for almost over 2 decades, and I love this beyond. This subject, storytelling, is the most powerful subject in your entire life because it defines who you become and who you are. That was my story from Sweden in the Nordics. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to take a photo of all of us, if that's okay. If you can all quickly put on your cameras, I can share that in my story as well. And we'll just take a photo together if that's cool. Toastmasters, yay! All right.
Yeah.
Can we have a camera 3, Marcus? Here we go. All right, here we go. Dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. Are you all ready?
Oh yes, we are.
All right, let's do a 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Oh, so exciting, so exciting. Oh, David, that was so exciting. That was so exciting, so knowledgeable. I have so many questions coming in, David. I hope you can hear me. There's so many questions coming in. And someone is asking, how many times have you died by PowerPoint? How many?
Whoa, too many, man, too many. It kills me. I hate it.
Did you get to hear me? Did you get to hear my question? There's a question someone is asking on our chat.
Yeah, can you hear me?
How many times have you died on PowerPoint, having written the TED Talk?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, they can hear me, but you can't. I don't know how to convey that, but maybe somebody can write that. All right, my answer is I've died 1 million times, it feels like, because 99.9% of people using PowerPoint suck at it. Even public speakers, which are paid a fortune. Not all public speakers, I'm just saying that the majority does.
Okay, okay, thank you. There's another question here. This one is very exciting.
Go.
Why did you decide to go into communications from scientific perspectives, you know?
I believe that it was my father. He was a great storyteller. He could walk into a room and he could make the entire room listen to him for hours. My mother was an academic. I was never able to become the same storyteller that my father was, but with the skills of my mother, I started analyzing what people did. And that is why I got that scientific touch to trying to understand what other people do. So my last TED talk, I studied 5,000 public speakers for 7 years to find the 110 common skills we all use. If you haven't seen that TED talk, have a look at it. I just love analyzing communication. I've done it all my life.
Wow, that's a good answer. I think if you came for a table topics competition, I think you'd be on a runners-up. Now, the next question. What motivated you to establish the largest Sweden communication skill training company? I think this person who is looking to make a big boss move in Africa.
Wow, I think just love what you do and give that love to others and do it differently. I think that's the key thing, to try to get a different angle to it. That's how I thought all the way anyhow. I've actually never read a book on public speaking because I wanted to do it in a different way from anybody else on the planet. And I think that's why my TED Talks are some of the biggest in public speaking as well.
Okay, okay.
Thanks
Wow.
for all the compliments on the studio, by the way. It's very, very nice of you. I like that. Thank you. We put a lot of energy into building the studio. And Marcus is sitting just behind here. Without him, this would just never work. But he's brilliant at this.
Oh man, the studio looks nice. I can't wait for an invite to come to Sweden and get to see how we can do one-to-one, face-to-face, do a TED Talk together.
If any one of you ever comes to Sweden, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll be happy to have you on for a coffee here at the JP Manor.
Yeah, thank you very much. David, you're so inspiring. We invite you from the director, Anton Gagondo, we invite you to come to Kenya anytime. I'll host you, we'll host you, and definitely you enjoy Africa for its beauty that we have around.
I've never been there, but
welcome,
it seems like the most beautiful.
Thank you very much. I know many
Earth.
people might want to ask you more questions. Where can they get you?
I think I'm best at answering questions on Instagram, on LinkedIn, I think, but Instagram is my only personal one. So hook me up on any of those and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have a Twitter handle?
It's when I don't do Twitter that much actually, but every other social media platform it's just David JP Phillips. And do remember also to go into storytelling.com to get your free training. There's 45 minutes of really good stuff there, so engage in that. And my YouTube channel, so much free stuff there as well.
Oh, thank you, David. Thank you, David. We are honored, we are privileged, and we are so happy for the encouragement. For this TICON 2022, more is coming. And David, please stick around for the next 2 days, get to find out who we are and how we are growing to be better people as we try and make boss moves in every situation.